All right, 4314 Commonwealth. We are in a perfectly appropriate neighborhood. Here's your house. As you can see from the front, we have new roof on the lower porch, the upper porch. It's gonna be ready for a roof within 5 years. It's got a little dip to it. I don't think we care about that, but it's 3-tab shingle. So that's gonna need love. And you are ready for vinyl siding immediately. Just duck in the backyard. Definitely former homeowner house. I'm calling this like grandma's house. Just from the maintenance is deferred, but the property is cared for. Got a deck in the back. I'd salvage it. But again, I'd give you that 5-year plan. Like, it's not peeling, right? Because nobody painted it, which was probably a good idea in retrospect, hindsight. But ultimately, you know, this is ready for new deck boards, maybe some support underneath. I'll also show you this walkout. That needs to be screwed shut. It needs to be noted that it is not for resident access. You could fit a pit bull through those holes. 4 inches on center, like a single 4-inch ball is what code considers too large. And then you're looking like it's like a cantilevered structure. So if you put like 6 adults up there trying to drink beer at night, you just got a bad idea kind of written all over. That's called an airing deck. We get rid of those. And then back up to that roof. Again, you can see it's popping. It's not leaking. There's nothing wrong inside, but when we do a home inspection, they're going to complain about that. Last is to show you the garage. This is some kind of a siding product. It's like a high-grade cardboard, and it's done. This is vinyl siding. This is back with this like weird cardboard structure. It's just had enough. Not a big deal. This is a footnote of siding. You know, this is your main house. Final is the AC. Consider it toast. I would remove it when we renovate the house. You are in a neighborhood that we can afford, like we can justify having a new central air put in. Just keep in mind, pricing I've been getting back is $5 to $6 grand, depending on difficulty. And we'll get into the house. Let's take a look at it together. Porch swing is fine. I don't think it's hurting anything. You know, you've got like grandma nailed in carpeting to kind of keep trash from being tracked into the property. But I would move this into an exterior carpet. Something exterior grade would be much smarter on this. That brings us inside. So you have the original hardwood floor. You know, it's just kind of there. And again, you've got like the little walkway from grandma. Carpeting, again, if we're not gonna do a complete gut job on this house, which I don't feel is necessary, you're gonna get one more resident out of this carpet. The family took good care of it, but you can see the wear pattern versus the edge. It's, you know, off color. You can see here, it was like granddad's rocking chair or something. His recliner was over here. So you have some wear, you have some staining. You know, paint, the baseboard, the walls, you can see there's fingerprints. It's just not crazy, right? If we're trying to like get the property closed and then rented, this isn't too impossible. You know, this is on your 5-year plan. I've painted wallpaper with pretty average success. It would get the job done. Now let's move into kitchen. Your cabinets, I always like to say these are built better than we get at, you know, Menards and Home Depot. They're not fancy, they're serviceable, they're gonna get another paint. The laminate is in okay condition. Again, yeah, there's no chips out of it. You know, you may get a couple more residents out. Nothing earth-shattering, right? It's serviceable, and that is exactly what we're looking for in a rental property. Basic white electric stove, laundry chute. You know, that's the first floor in this property. Let's head to the basement. All right, just 4314 Commonwealth. Down to the basement. So of note, this is painted efflorescence, that white powder chalk stuff that comes out. It's actually in pretty impressive condition. It just looks a little like warty. So that's still hard. This stuff now, see how that's crumbling? So that's newer, kind of a toss-up. You can take a steel long-handled scraper, knock this flush, and then paint it again. Not a big deal. This violates my personal standard, which is no carpet in a basement. I think I'd try to leave it, but what we would want to do is make sure we tell the resident, yeah, it's just floating down there, so that'll pop up. But we just want to tell the resident that basements in Toledo flood. This is not a bedroom. We don't want to hear about your belongings or, look ugly in the basement. You have to have 2 modes of egress to pass city code. We definitely don't want anybody living down here with our encouragement and then having a fire on the stairwell, not being able to fit out these little windows and, having an injury or a fatality. Definitely looks like they had a primo basement epoxy put down. If that's under that carpet, I'd get that carpet out of here immediately, but we'll peek under it once we own the property. Same routine. You can see there's less moisture coming in. This is the non-driveway side, so typically water drains a little easier. We should also check the gutters and make sure that on the driveway side they're flowing well. You do have a brand fancy furnace unit. The A coil lives up here. So this is the new plenum. This is the old original A coil. I've got a whole video on it, but using R22 refrigerant, the old school refrigerant, translates to low pressure. You essentially have 3 times the pressure, 300 PSI, that R410 operates in. So you can't use the line set, you can't use the A coil, you can't use the compressor. It's an entirely new job. Thank our government for selecting, an environmental refrigerant that requires complete upgrade. Just part of the cost of doing business. Other than that, I don't see anything that's really detrimental or significant. 93 is when this was installed. So that is a pretty impressive water heater. I own dozens just like this. They operate, leave them alone. There's not a whole lot to go wrong on an original basic vent. It's gravity vent. They're using the hot gases to be able to vent into the chimney. There's not a whole lot to go wrong with them. You pretty much have to rust through the wall of the tank, as opposed to what we find every day these days. If you do a power vent, the power vent runs just like this because the water heater is vented through PVC. So it has combustion sensors, it has moisture sensors, it has venting sensors. There's just a lot more to go wrong. And then it's going to have a circuit board. And the translation on circuit boards these days is when the circuit boards goes bad, you're going to have, a $500 circuit board. That would be a $1,500 water heater. So once it's 8 years old, why, put another circuit board in it? You'd put another $1,500 power vent fancy water heater in. This guy is, call it $600-700 with prices continue to go up, but it's totally serviceable. Yep, that is the basement down here. Really fine property, some pretty solid upgrades. All right, let's head upstairs. First of all, I wanted to point out all of the windows in the property are newer. They're not 1970s newer. I'm going to give you 1990s newer. They have screens in them. They're thicker, so they're pretty modern windows. And from the siding standpoint, 50% of your cost is already taken care of because you have new windows. This is that airing deck I showed you on the outside, and I'm tearing their house apart. EPDM rubber roof. The rubber roof is, being penetrated by the railing. All that would come off when we sealed this door shut. Moving us into, I feel like bedrooms first. Left-hand bedroom, again, old carpet. This is just over top of the stairs. Bedroom looks totally standard. Closet, check this out. You got all the family members as they were growing up. 2021, 2019, 2019, 2019. So it's 100%. It's Grandma, Grandpa's house, looking for a new owner. Hardwood floors, maybe in good condition under all the carpeting, under all the carpeting. But you can hear how I just changed kind of echoey. So I do like to have some, especially in the kids' rooms, I like to have some carpeting in there for just sound deadening. We'll cross out of that. You see how we just totally got rid of the echo? This carpeting, unless we get a buyer who's just really wants to have the minimum, flair, this needs to come out. You're stained there, you've got a stain over there, stained in this corner. Section 8 is the one who will override our intent on kind of stripping cost out. And then of course, Section 8 is a superior product in my experience for rentals. This is the replaced roof above me is what needs to be done. And that'll bring us to Actually, the attic is what I wanted to see for a second. And I think we're gonna get to start another video. All right, so you remember I told you this roof was gonna need to get done, and I'll tell you why I think it's expensive, or at least hasn't been done already. That is shake. Shake is pieces of wood. It's flaked pieces of wood, it's wedge-shaped, and then the horizontal runs, those are called purlins. And so the purlins is the old school, like when you do steel roofing, you know, on a pole barn, you still have these purlins. However, the technology was, gee, we can gap these things by 4 inches and shake can span them. However, asphalt shingles can't. So you have to strip all this off, and then you put plywood over top of the purlins, and then you end up with a 0 gap surface that asphalt shingles can handle. So it's gonna add, call it, you know, $3,000 to your roof when it needs to get done. But this roof is only 2 surfaces, 2 slopes. It's not too bad. I would say you're gonna be around 10 grand for the roof, remove all the shingles. You know, then maybe 12, 13 with the plywood, you know, the sheathing having to go on. In the bathroom, you know, perfectly serviceable, kind of interesting. I wonder if that was the old valve and then they put it down here. Like, that's just odd, but okay. We're gonna need to check this for leaks once we get it to inspection. Old toilet. See that like pipe that kind of connects? That's old school. We don't see that anymore. You know, low flow toilet guts at a minimum, but you know, this I would rip out as well. I thought this was absolutely fascinating. So you have like some interesting overflow. I don't know how this happens unless there's like water bubbling back up on a consistent basis. But, you know, this is the 1950s concept where, hey, I'm really excited that we actually have water and we have hot water. You fill the sink with hot water, you fill the sink with cold water, you wash your face, and then you drain the thing down. And of course, in today's world, we mix those two together with a single valve. But, you know, old school, just interesting to see, but this I would rip out as well. Also, it was missing like a stopper to be able to use it. It's kind of all contained in there. I also noticed this kind of goes along. You can see the water just on the back. You know, I'm not saying we have a problem. I'm just saying we might have a problem. So there is this house and 4134 Commonwealth. I'm gonna give you an easy $1,300 3-bedroom rent rate. You may get closer to $1,400, but I will let your property manager assure you of that and then achieve it in the end. In the meantime, just a very solid house without a whole lot of upgrades required. And that's it. Enjoy.